Hello everybody, my name is James, hope you're doing well and welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about Mercedes' view on the difference in George Russell's pace between the sprint and the Grand Prix in Austin, as well as Oscar Piastri. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more Formula 1 content. Also make sure to follow me on X at James's Pit Lane, I'll leave a link in the description, but let's jump straight into the video. So let's start with George Russell, and as we know, he had an up and down weekend in the United States. In the sprint, things went pretty well. He managed to finish in P2 and was even challenging Max Verstappen for the win at one point. But then in the main Grand Prix, things went downhill a bit. He only finished in P6. One thing to note though is that he was tucked up behind Oscar Piastri, who was having a difficult weekend and finished in P5. And Mercedes feel that Russell was not able to extract the true performance of the car. When asked on the Mercedes Austin debrief if there was a reason for the disparity in fortunes between the sprint and the Grand Prix, Mercedes technical director James Allison maintained there was little change in the W16 across the weekend, with him saying, as quoted by Racing News 365, "I think probably the more realistic thing for assessing the competitiveness is with the surface overheating that comes on the tyres at that track. You sort of go at the pace of the person in front of you, and in the sprint race we had Verstappen in front of us, and you could see George was able to keep up with Verstappen there and have a decent run of things. But in the main race, we got away off the line okay, but it didn't come out of the first corner well, and then we're stuck behind Piastri, who was having a tough weekend, and we're sort of stuck at Piastri's pace then. So the competitiveness is very much linked by who you're following rather than your car in free air." But let's look ahead to the Mexico Grand Prix, which is coming up this weekend, and one thing to note is that free practice 1 is going to look very different, with 9 rookies being entered for the FP1 session. Basically, Formula 1 regulations mandate 2 rookie outings per car this season on race weekends, and Mexico, well, it's a well-known circuit where teams have gathered lots of data and where the track is usually quite dusty in FP1, so it's not really a representative session. And on top of that, it's not a sprint weekend as well, and upgrades at this point in the season are becoming more and more limited. In fact, lots of teams have turned their attention to 2026 much earlier on in the season due to the new regulations coming into play next year. So Mexico is a good place to run a rookie in free practice 1. And among those stepping in free practice 1 are Luke Browning for Carlos Sainz at Williams. At Racing Bulls, it's Ayumu Iwasa in for Liam Lawson. At Alpine, it's Paul Aron in for Pierre Gasly. At Aston Martin, Jack Crawford is in for Lance Stroll. At Mercedes, Frederick Vesti is in for George Russell. At Red Bull, Arthur Dimphad is in for Max Verstappen. At Ferrari, Antonio Fuso is in for Lewis Hamilton. And finally at McLaren, Pato O'Ward is in for Lando Norris. Now, when you look at McLaren, their former junior driver Alex Dunn took part in free practice 1 sessions in Austria and Italy, with Norris sitting out in Austria and Piastri sitting out in Italy. And with Norris sitting out in Mexico now, it means Piastri will still have to sit out another session this season, and Abu Dhabi looks to be the best remaining option. And that's because when you look at the rest of the calendar, Brazil and Qatar, well, they're sprint weekends, there's only 1 practice session, so that's out the question. And then you've got Las Vegas, that's a street circuit, so the chance of damage is higher, the chance of limited running is higher due to red flags. So as I say, really the best option is Abu Dhabi, the last race of the season. Now, Piastri is not the only driver to be in this position. I mean, Ferrari junior Dino Beganovic replaced Charles Leclerc in Bahrain and Austria, so Hamilton will have to give another session a miss. And at Red Bull, it's Tsunoda who will need to vacate his car once more later on this season. The thing is though, Oscar Piastri, he's in a title fight, and with the way this title fight is going, I could imagine the title coming down to the last race of the season in Abu Dhabi, and what could end up being the biggest race of Oscar Piastri's racing career. He might have to sit out a practice session. One thing to note is that free practice 1 will not be a representative session in Abu Dhabi. Still though, it could end up being the title deciding weekend, a huge weekend for Oscar Piastri, and he could miss that session, a session where he could gather data about the track. And on top of that, you've got the risk of, if Piastri does miss an FP1 session in Abu Dhabi, what happens if the rookie jumps into the car and ends up making a mistake. I mean, we saw it with Kimi Antonelli at Mercedes in Italy last year. In his practice session with the team, he did a few laps, but then ended up crashing. And if that were to happen in Abu Dhabi, you run the risk of, is the car too damaged to take part in FP2, or does it limit the running in FP2? Could it be a situation where you've got to change engine parts and that would risk Piastri getting a penalty? Of course, these are all hypotheticals, and McLaren could very well decide, right, let's just put the rookie in the car in Las Vegas, which I think they should do. But if it does go to Abu Dhabi and Piastri has to miss out on FP1, I do think that's a bit of a risk and puts Piastri, I think, at a bit of a disadvantage. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. But that's going to be the video from me today. Thank you ever so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos. And until the next one, take care. Bye.